playing Sega Genesis with bros. Now I'm gaming with some folks on the other side of the globe. Used to go through a label if you trying to blow. Now people got more.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Today we're going to be talking about Overdrive, Impact Wrestling pay-per-view from November the 18th, 2022. Honestly, it's a solid enough show, but there is nothing on the show that really happens. This show didn't make me as angry as the previous Impact shows, so it was okay. Still some questionable booking decisions, still some questionable talent decisions, but I mean, I think that it kind of worked to a degree here. So on the pre-show, which is weird because it's a weird place to have it, the Bullet Club, being Ace Austin and Chris Bay, were defeated by the Motor City Machine Guns. Now, the Motor City Machine Guns apparently are the New Japan Pro Wrestling Openweight Tag Team Champions, which is like literally the 4th pair of tag team titles I believe that exist in New Japan. How many goddamn tag team belts exist in New Japan? How many titles exist in New Japan, period? Every time I turn around, there's a new belt in New Japan. I don't get it. It doesn't seem to make their product any fresher or any more interesting. They just have random belts on people floating around. It's worse than boxing. The belts are multiplying like rabbits. They're having litters of belts every year. Like, I think they've really released within the last 3 years 6 new belts. They got a TV belt, an open weight belt, a strong belt, a strong tag team belt. They're about to have a women's belt. Yes, a women's belt in New Japan now. They had the King of Pro Wrestling title thing. It's not a belt, but it's basically a belt. Like, what is going on with them? They just decided there's not enough belts in the company. You know, like they did do one fusion of a title. They got rid of their Intercontinental Championship, but otherwise, New Japan is just burying everybody in belts. There's belts everywhere. Like, when you have 6 pair of tag team champions, who really cares about the world titles or whatever? You know? Are all these titles supposed to be equivalent belts? I don't even understand it. Like, what's the ranking of these belts? They can't be equivalent belts. Like, how are these new belts equivalent to the belts that have existed for 10 years or whatever? I don't know, man. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, Motor City Machine Guns win. Okay. I don't understand why Ace Austin and Chris Bay are still doing Bullet Club stuff, but the match was fun. Later in the episode, Chris Bay and Ace Austin were backstage. They were talking to Motor City Machine Guns, talking about how they were on their way to Japan, and Motor City Machine Guns started big leaguing them. Talking about how many times they've been to Japan and how long they've been a tag team compared to how long Ace Austin and Chris Bay have been a tag team. Then they sort of joked that they were going to be the Impact Tag Team Champions by the time they come back from Japan. This led to the Major Players, or the Major Brothers, or whatever they're calling themselves now. I think it's the Major Players. Matt Cardona and Brian Myers, they came out and said they were going to be the Tag Team Champions. And this led to the Major Players versus Rhino and Heath. I mean, try to find somebody who wasn't in WWE in 2004 in this match. Probably the referee. All right, that's probably the only person that wasn't in WWE in 2004 that was in this ring during this match. Rhino and Heath won. I don't get it either. It was the 4th match on the show, so obviously I'm not going in direct order. The less said about a Rhino match, the better. Rhino's got big show heat with me, but not quite Tyrus heat. I don't see the purpose in Rhino existing anymore. I just don't. Heath Slater he's on my nerves, but this is the first time he's kind of been out on his own. Rhino has kind of done this whole man beast thing. He's been doing this gimmick since 1999. And only time I was even remotely interested within the last 10 to 15 years about anything that Rhino does is when he deviates from that. Like when he was being the straight man and doing a sort of comedy with Heath Slater, that was fun. When he was doing the Violent by Design stuff, that was interesting. But now he's just back to generic Rhino stuff, and that's awful. It's just, it's terrible. It's boring, incredibly boring. And I couldn't have cared less about anything that involves Brian Myers. I mean, Brian Myers is one of the shittiest individuals in the business. You talking about charisma vacuums, like a try hard, Brian Myers is it. All right, the first match on the show, however, was Moose versus Bully Ray in an old school rules match. Bully Ray wins the match, which was not a surprise to me, considering Bully Ray is the #1 contender for the world title. Bully Ray had a big night on this show. So after the match, he was confronted backstage, and basically they once more dumped some doubt on him about whether he was going to cash in his call your shot gauntlet thing on somebody from behind, or was he going to do it straight up. And he said that he should go home or go back to his hotel and soak in some ice, but he's going to stick around and he wants to watch the main event. And the main event of the show was Josh Alexander versus Frankie Kazarian. Frankie Kazarian is another dinosaur, a guy who was on Velocity. I mean, that's how old Frankie Kazarian is. He was on WWF Velocity. This was 2002, before he went to Impact. But at least they were telling the story that Frankie Kazarian has done everything in Impact except become world champion, and this is kind of his shot. That was the story that they were telling. They did an interesting little contract signing on the show, where Frankie Kazarian just kind of got a little testy with Josh Alexander. But they had a straight up, babyface match here. Nobody turned heel. Nobody did anything. Josh Alexander's just buried in this kind of stuff. This is his pocket, where he can just go out there and have a good wrestling match. But the guy feels like a WCW television champion in the main event of an Impact show. He just has that level of interest. But he wins, because of course he wins. Why would you put the belt on somebody who sits on AEW's bench 300 days a year? After the match, Bully Ray came out, says that if it comes down to champions, he chooses Josh Alexander all the time. Said that he wants everybody to give them a standing ovation for the match that they just had. They said that he promised Josh Alexander that he would look him straight in the eye and tell him when he was ready to cash in his championship opportunity. And he said he plans to do that right now. And said at Hard to Kill, which I think is January the 13th, he wants his championship match, and said that he's going to challenge him straight up. Josh Alexander kind of nodded. They shook hands on it, which means they agreed upon it. Josh Alexander continued to celebrate his title win, and then was immediately attacked from behind by Bully Ray, because why not? Bully Ray attacked him, beat him up, hit him with a chair, zip tied him to the top rope. Josh Alexander's wife is screaming. She's hollering for him to stop. So Bully Ray grabs her and yanks her over the barricade. Now this is the big heat spot, because Josh Alexander is zip tied to the bottom rope, but zip ties aren't really all that strong. I mean, they can be, but they really kind of aren't. And Josh Alexander was trying to get loose and save his wife, because of course he would, but he was held back by Bully Ray, who was threatening to power drive her on the floor. So he kept giving him demands like stop moving, don't move, and then he demanded that he hand him the world title, which he did. When he handed Bully Ray the world title, he threw his wife on him. He kind of cradled his wife, and then Bully Ray took the edge of the chair and pressed it against his throat. It was really visceral stuff. The crowd was very angry. The crowd was really into this. They were really into this. A lot of people just kind of like, oh, I knew Bully Ray was going to attack him from behind. But nobody saw the whole wife grabbing thing happen. Nobody expected that. So that was really good. That was a good heat spot. It was okay. Josh Alexander and Bully Ray doesn't exactly, cook my grits, but it's Bully Ray knows how to get heat, and he knows how to be a good heel, and he knows what he's doing. And one of my biggest issues with wrestling companies these days is a refusal to get heels some heat, refusal to let wrestlers be hated. Bully Ray does not mind being hated. So this will work. He's going to go out there and he's going to get some real heat. And he might be the first heel that Josh Alexander actually wrestled since he wrestled Moose. And Moose it was the same weakness. It was going after Josh Alexander's family, which is good because Josh Alexander, has the personality of a textbook. So it's easy to target his family as a good way of getting heat. And if I think his wife is a wrestler, so yeah, it works. It works. And this was really well done. I give them a lot of credit. The only thing that probably would have been better is if Bully Ray would have, picked up the mic and said, I told you that we were going to have a match at Hard to Kill, and it was going to be you and me straight up one-on-one, but I never said you was going to be the champion, and then nailed him and cashed that thing in and won the belt. Not because, Bully Ray needs it, but, and I still don't think he's going to win it, but because it would have at least garnered some interest in what they were going to be doing from now till that show. Now they're going to have to try to keep Bully Ray hot for that show. And it's going to be interesting. Now, the only problem with that, that angle would have been that they literally just did something like this with Moose, where he attacked Josh Alexander while he was in the ring with his wife and all that kind of stuff, and pinned him in front of his kids and everything, which was great. That was fantastic. But it worked so well with somebody who was mid as hell like Moose, so it definitely would work with Bully Ray. But it was fine. What they did was actually not bad. I hated that it took that long to get to something super exciting, but that was not bad. All right, the second match on the show, the Death Dolls, which was Jessica and Taya, defeated Savannah Evans and Tasha Steelz to maintain their Knockouts tag team titles. And I think I need to make a confession, because I've been looking at Savannah Evans, and you know what? She's not bad, man. She's not bad. Now in the ring, I would say this: she needs some work. I don't know what they're doing with her in Impact in terms of her character and her abilities. They're pretty much the same as when she started. Before she wasn't really on TV that much. Now she's been on TV for like a year and a half, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit less, and she's about the same. She hasn't grown that much in either direction. They need to do something to change and to push her. I think that the business is moving towards women like Savannah Evans now, because she's tall. She's not big and fat. She's tall though, and she's kind of thick. But her whole gimmick is like being strong, but she kind of still looks soft. Like when you look at the women in WWE, Raquel and Bianca and Rhea, they got muscles. I'm talking muscle on top of muscle. They look shredded. But Savannah Evans still has that softness to her. That's why I'm just kind of like, come on down here, let me talk to you. Let me see what I need to stop it. I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna stop it. But Savannah Evans is on my radar, so I like her. Moving on. The third match on the show, Mickie James defeated Taylor Wilde. Of course, Mickie James has the rules. If she loses to a match, period, she has to retire. So this was the last rodeo match. Taylor Wilde was defeated. There was a cool camel clutch counter in this match, and I have rarely seen the camel clutch get actually countered before. So I want to give the girls credit for that. It was an actual cool counter done in this match. After the match was over, Deonna Purrazzo came out. She was very upset with Mickie James, saying that Mickie James is not there to elevate women's wrestling. That's bullshit. She's there to big up herself. And that Mickie James ended her title reign, tried to end her partnership with her best friend. She's sick of Mickie James, and she hasn't beaten Mickie James before. So she's going to be the one that's not just going to ruin Mickie James' career, she's going to end it. Now, if I remember correctly, I do believe Deonna Purrazzo did beat Mickie James, but they did have a great feud. The two of them had an excellent feud. It was during the pandemic, and they were having these empty arena matches between Deonna Purrazzo and Mickie James. It was excellent. They had these fight scenes backstage, or these fight scenes on Mickie's farm and stuff. It was fun. It was really good. Deonna would be a good, a perfect poetic opponent to end Mickie James' Impact career. Like, I fully believe that this is just going to end her Impact career. It's not going to end her career in general, period. So if she gets her, match with Charlotte that she wants at WrestleMania, nothing's going to tell me that, oh, she lost a match to fucking Tasha Steelz on Impact and had to retire, and so she's not going to take that match. Of course she will. Of course she will. Everybody who's retired as a wrestler ends up working at least 1 or 2 more matches afterwards. Like, retiring as a wrestler is it's like being a retired musician. It doesn't really work out. You just kind of slow down. You never really stop. So, I think Deonna Purrazzo should be the one to beat her, though. It just depends on when the match is going to happen. If this is going to be the match for Hard to Kill, I don't know if this is the venue where you want to do it. I think you want to wait for a bigger show. I don't know what the big shows are for Impact anymore. I think the biggest show is, of course, Bound for Glory. I think the second biggest is Slammiversary. What's the hierarchy of these shows? I don't think Hard to Kill is the kind of show where you will want to have Deonna Purrazzo retire Mickie James. I don't know if this if that's the kind of show you would do that at. But it also depends on what's going on. If Nick Aldis manages to squeeze his way into WWE, and then I could see Mickie, taking this L and then going and join them. But I wouldn't mind it if it was Deonna, because Deonna has been very good. They have a storied rivalry. It would really boost Deonna without her winning the title again, because she's already done that. At the same time, though, if she does retire Mickie James, what is left for her to do? That's the thing about not having a real deep division. You're really left with that kind of questions. All right, so the 5th match on the show was Black Taurus versus Trey Miguel in the X Division Championship Finals. They're doing a thing where Crazy Steve is now introducing Black Taurus, and it was not bad. It made him feel special. I'm a big fan of Taurus from AAA. The guy is just really good. I just think he's one of the most underrated dudes. For his size and his agility, it's tremendous. These two guys threw everything at each other. I mean, Black Taurus is probably 270, 280. And he's out here doing hurricanranas and stuff. And while normally I would scoff at that kind of thing, he's Mexican. So, I understand it. You get the Lucha Libre pass, this is, everybody wrestles this, well, not everybody, but most people wrestle the same way down there. They're just taught how to do this. And it's very impressive, but they actually took time to sell things. I started getting, the match was pretty long too. It was a pretty lengthy match. And I got frustrated when Taurus did a top rope gorilla press slam, and that wasn't the finish. Because I was like, okay, clearly Taurus should win this match, because of the two, he hasn't been champion yet. And they're kind of billing him as being sort of this big bad monster, so it would make sense for him to win the title. But he did this top rope gorilla press slam. It looked great. And Trey Miguel kicked out. I was like, oh, get the fuck out of here. Trey Miguel is like 160 pounds, 170 pounds. Flippy as fuck. Why is he able to survive all this stuff? I don't know. Whatever. The finish came with Trey Miguel spraying Taurus in the eyes with paint, then landing the Meteora to win. So essentially, Trey Miguel turned heel in order to win the X Division Championship. You know what? I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Trey Miguel has been sort of stale for a while now. So, and the story that they were telling here is that he had tried essentially everything. Taurus had some responses to quite a bit of his offense, and some of his normal moves that he had tried that he had beaten people with, they weren't working either. So he just kind of said, hey, win by any means necessary, and therefore he sprayed him in the face. So the crowd didn't immediately start booing. I think people started really kind of getting that he was turning heel maybe a couple of seconds after the match was over. So it was like a real delayed response, because I don't think anybody was expecting it. but it was clear as crystal that he sprayed him in the face with something. I don't know why they didn't boo then. But the heel turn, okay. I don't hate it. I want to see how he turns out as a heel. I always thought he was an interesting promo. You know, being in, what kind of character is he going to be? I'm guessing cocky, arrogant sort of heel. And it's always good to see them elevating somebody who wasn't in WWE 25 years ago, so or 15 years ago or 10 years ago. And I think Trey Miguel is one of those guys that's kind of been hampered by this Josh Alexander run at the top, where he probably should be in the milieu for being world champion. So he's stuck in the X division. So I'm okay with him being X division champion at least. So this was fun. The sixth match on the show, last knockout standing, Masha Slamovich versus Jordynne Grace. Jordynne Grace wins the match with a muscle buster through a door that she had propped up between, I think, the ring apron and the barricades. I don't know. But it was a fierce match. I don't know what Masha Slamovich did to have to do two jobs to Jordynne Grace, but it is what it is. I don't think this match was better than their actual wrestling match. It feels a little off because we had just seen guys hitting each other with chairs and tables and stuff in the first match. So when you have two matches of a similar type where everybody's they're going for the plunder and they're, you know, falling through stuff and getting hit with things, it gets kind of redundant. But I think that I like Masha Slamovich a little bit. I want to see more from her because she was doing squash matches before she started wrestling Jordynne Grace. So I really just kind of want to see more of what she can do. They also need to deepen their women's division. They need to spend some money. You know, get some of these women off like Shine or something like that and bring them into Impact, because, you know, their knockouts divisions have just been like rotating the same girls over and over again until AEW or WWE snatches one of them. You know, now I guess Chelsea Green is leaving, but now it's just kind of like, okay, we're going to put Rosemary and Taya and all them into the singles division. And then once they have that run, which lasted about a quarter, like 4 months, then they snatch them out and put them back in the tag team division. And and they've been doing that with the X division guys too, where they'll just rotate guys in and out. You know, like, it's like, okay, we get it, but at the same time, that's not enduring it. That's not showing any growth. You know, we need to deepen these rosters and show some growth. And again, there's a dearth of storylines in Impact, but Impact is trying. I'm going to give them some credit. They're actually trying. And when times get like these, they have the belief of the fan base. They have the faith of the fan base that they'll be able to come back. And I believe in Impact. You know, I'm not as angry about it as I was the last pay-per-view. I was very angry at them before because it was just a stupid show and it was boring as hell. At least this show wasn't completely boring, and they actually dared to do some different stuff, having Trey Miguel turn heel, the angle with Bully Ray and Josh Alexander, the Deonna Mickie James angle. All that stuff is fine. You know, that's not bad. It's not terrible stuff. And this wasn't like their entire roster, so it's not like they threw everybody they got on the show. So there's still some left in the chamber. But so I thought the show was not awful. If you're an Impact fan, you probably liked it. If you're on the fence about Impact, I don't think it would convert you to watching Impact every week. But it was serviceable. Nothing major happened, but still some cool stuff happened. All right. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace.